Good morning. You're muted, Rabbi.
Yeah, now you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Right.
He had to go, he has 9 o'clock appointment.
Doctor, usually he has early doctor's
Yeah,
appointments.
so he says that he's gonna give you a little, piece today. He's coming to tell you that. All right.
Okay, I'm going to start momentarily with the Zev, have we been able to arrange a ride for you for this afternoon?
I arranged the ride, thank you.
Very good.
Someone volunteered to take me.
Very good. You have an excellent chauffeur then. Right? Uh-huh.
Okay, so he has all.
Okay. All right, I will bring these with me. All right, tonight, this afternoon. Starting with our learning sponsors, and then we'll do a couple of administrative things and then get right into today's text. Here of learning Sue and Arnie Gerlich in memory of Malka Pro Man and Philip Man and Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch and Beryl ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch. Yosef Meir ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Henya Rivka Pro Rosna bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, in memory of family murdered in the Holocaust. Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Sharon and Fred Liska, their family and many friends. In memory of her dear mom, Harriet Friedman, Edelbas Yaakov. Leslie and Gail Kaplan. In memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedell, Irving and Pearl Kaplan. Friends of Avi Gitler, Avram Meir ben Shimon, and Martha Gitler, China Bud. Children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Saratova Bat Yisrael Dov in her memory. Friends of Joe Wolf, Yosef Ben Chaim, Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata Bat Asher. Friends of Nina Moynester, Nechama Asna Bat Yitzchak Aharon. They have a month of learning by Rebecca Lewis and Susan Watansky in memory of their aunt and sister Miriam Bat Yosef Devorah. We have a week of learning by Marty and Marla Teichman in memory of his father, Yom Tov Lipa ben Avraham, by Edith Vigdor in memory of her father-in-law, Me'aleh ben Dov, and by Michael and Judy Poretsky in memory of his brother, Avram ben Gershon. Today is the 13th, a day of learning by Jack Kaufman in memory of his father, Elazar ben Yaakov. May Shemas have an aliyah, crank or Rafia, Valta Yashir Sham Salaya, and a Kobane Israel, a good Gaben Shtiach. Okay, just all right. A reminder tomorrow, gentlemen, no food. That's number one. Okay, all right, because what? Okay, okay, number two, we will be meeting tomorrow and Wednesday mornings in the shul. Okay, so the reason being is that this room is going to be totally reconfigured because of due to the Sisterhood Boutique. Okay, all right, so that is our situation. If the boutique is on Wednesday, but in order to be able to set it up and everything, Jus really needs a full day to work on it. Okay.
What's one library?
I think we have more people than we can accommodate in the library. Otherwise, right?
And the 8:30 meeting is in the library?
No, the 8:30 minyan will still be in the base medrash. That's the issue. Okay,
Downstairs in the big room.
so we will be meeting in the big show. All right? Okay. Today, I'm going to start off where we left off with Ula. Okay? And Ula is found on Lamed Amud Beis, the next to the last line. Okay? I'm guessing in Art Scroll that's 30B3 or 30B4. All right? Did I guess?
3B3.
All right, okay. All right, so it's not a long piece today. That way you get to go home and have an early breakfast. So let's ask ourselves just a quick question as we go back into the Gemara. Okay, we have seen that the Gemara has presented us, first of all, the whole discussion in regards to the need for fast days vis-a-vis the lack of rain. Okay, we dealt with the question of when to ask for rain. Okay, when not to ask for rain, where that is in the davening. Okay, what part of the Shmona Esrei it's in. Okay, from there we went into some various discussions. Okay, afterwards of does fasting for the rain, how is it done in a community? Okay, in terms of when was it the order? Okay, first the leaders of the community, then the entire community, okay, and so on. So we had a lot of attention dealing with that topic. That ultimately led us to discussion of what we'll call for the moment historical fast days. Okay, Shiva Sabra Tammuz, Tisha B'Av. Okay, and that's what we were going, right? And then the Gemara now brought us up to the point, made a comparison to Avelis. It made a comparison to, to the point that the statement that there was no days like Tu B'Av and Yom Kippur. And what was the significance of Yom Kippur? We understood. Okay, a day of Slicha Mechila. That's what we learned yesterday's Gemara. And then the discussion was Tu B'Av. And what was it that made Tu B'Av so significant? And we've been seeing a number of very different suggestions. So as we continue with that, I'm going to go, as I said, starting with on Lamed Amud Beis, the next to the last line. Okay, Ula Amar. Okay, Yom Shabitel Hoshea ben Ela Prosdiot Shehoshiv Yeravam ben Navat Al Hadrachim Shelo Ya'alu Yisrael L'Regel. It was the day, he says, in which Hoshea ben Ela, okay, who was another king who only ruled for a very brief period of time. Right? Okay, and what happened? What did he do? Okay, that he nullified these guards, these sentries that Yerovam ben Nevat had established in order to prevent the people from from the people of the northern kingdom going south to Yerushalayim, to Yehuda. Okay, so that was the point, right? The regel, why? So they wouldn't go there on the pilgrimage festivals, and instead they would go to the locations he had set up in Israel in the north. Okay, 2 different locations where they had a large idol, a goat and a calf there, and as I said, that you can look back up in Judges chapter 21. Okay. So the Gemara finishes up then that statement, Amar la'ezer sheyirtzu ya'aleh, right? And so Rashi's comment is important for us to look at today. Hoshea ben Ela Rasha Hayat, says Rashi. He himself, even though he eliminated these guards, these sentries, that doesn't mean that he was such a great guy, a good king. Remember the book of Malachim there is clearly reviewing, okay, judging, if you will, many of these individuals on a model like David. Did he follow after Hashem appropriately or not? Okay, right? So Rashi then continues to Chtiv, and notice Rashi cites again, V'yas hara be'enei Hashem, rak lo kimalchei Yisrael. But he wasn't, he did the evil in Hashem, but he wasn't like some of the other kings of Israel. Okay, V'hainu dikamar, rak shabitel et ha prostaot, v'amar la'ezer sheyirtzu ya'aleh. Okay, so the only good thing he did was he did away with these guards, these sentries, and told people they could go, they could return if they wanted to Yerushalayim. Okay, so that's why it was nice to, okay, Rashi's comment to clarify. All right, so let's go on now. We're on Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph. Okay, we're not going to complete the entire half an Amud, so we'll have a little shtickle for this afternoon, right? Okay, Rav Matna Amar, he says, Yom Shenatnu Harugei Beitar Likvura. It was the day in which those who were killed and associated with the capture and destruction of the city of Beitar, okay, the day they were buried, okay? We should know historically that after that conquest, after that rebellion, the people of Beitar were one of the last cities to be conquered. And as a result, one of the decrees that the Romans enacted was that they were not allowed to bury, okay, them, right? Va'amar Rav Matna, says Rav Matna, Oto Hayom, Shenatnu Harugei Beitar Likvura, Taknu Biyavna Hatov Vahametiv. According to Rav Matna, that day, okay, in Yavna, okay, what did they do? The Sanhedrin declared and created the fourth blessing for Birkat Hamazon, Hatov Vahametiv. Why the double lashon of Hatov and Hametiv? The Gemara tells us, Hatov Shelo Hasrichu. Okay, that even though they weren't buried, the bodies didn't decay. Okay, Vahametiv and Shenatnu Likfura, that they were allowed to bury them.
How many years after that?
It was 3 years after the fall of Beitar. Okay, so if my history is correct, 67 was the year that it occurred, I think, if I remember. Okay, so it was 3 years later. Okay, right. Now, another example. Rava v'Rav Yosef the Amrei Travayu. The two of them said, give another possible explanation as why Tu B'Avis was important, right? Yom shepaskul milichrot etzim lema'aracha. Okay, it was a day that they stopped chopping trees down to provide wood for the ma'aracha, for the mizbeah. Okay, Tanya, and we have a Braita that teaches. Rabbi Eliezer Hagadol Omer, he said, Michamisha Asar Ba'av, from the 15th of Av onwards, Va'elech, Tashash Kocha Shel Chama. The strength of the sun begins to diminish. Why was that? What, Bob?
Why would chopping down, stopping the chopping be?
Okay, so what's the explanation? First of all, why did the Rebbe, right? Why did Rabbi Eliezer give that? If you want wood that is dry to be able to put on the maracha, okay? So if the strength of the sun has decreased, okay, in other words, from the time period of the rain, that wood could still be moist. Therefore, so in other words, it's problematic to be able to chop it down and bring it on the mizbeach. So if the sun stopped being as strong from the 15th of Av, right? Okay, let's say that's right in our calendar. What do you want to say? Maybe sometime in the middle of July, beginning of August. Okay, maybe certainly not later than the middle of August, right? Okay, So if the sun is less strong, the wood is still going to retain some of its moisture. All right, and therefore that's problematic for bringing to the Mizbeach. Okay, all right. So therefore, tashash kocha shel chama v'lo hayu kortin eitzim lema'aracha lefi she'einan yeveshin. Okay, and therefore they did stop chopping the wood because the wood wasn't dry enough to be utilized. Okay, and notice again, Rashi points this out: mikan ve'elech mited vav ba'av ve'elech demosif leilot al hayamim la'asok b'torah. Okay, so he gives a slightly different explanation. Yosif chayim al chayam. Okay, that therefore also, okay, gave them time to learn. Right? Amar Rav Menashe. Right, a different explanation. V'karule Yom Tavar Magal, and they called it the day of the. One translation was breaking the scythe. Shever HaGarzen. It could be in Hebrew. Okay, the utensil that they use to chop the wood. Usually we would think of an axe for chopping wood. A scythe, that was Koren's translation, not as keen. Okay, mikan ve'elech. All right, and that was Rashi's point at that point on. Dimosif. What were they able to do? They were able to continue their learning. That's what Rashi wants us to understand here. Yosef, therefore, by able to increase their learning, udelo mosif ye asef. And those who did not increase their learning at that time, therefore they will be gathered up. In other words, they will die early. And unfortunately, as we're going to see, what does that mean? Tani Rabbi Yosef. What did Rabbi Yosef say? Ma ye Yosef. What does it mean? They'll be gathered early. Amar Rav Yosef tikbarei imei. They'll be buried by their mother. Okay. In other words, they'll die young because they had the opportunity to increase their time for Torah learning, and they did not use it. Okay. All right. We'll go on. Okay. Shebahan. Okay. Shebahan benot Yisrael v'chui. All right. So what did the Jewish girls do on Tu B'Av? Right. We said they borrowed clothes, one from another. Okay. So how and why did they borrow? Because they said so that none who didn't have those white garments would not be embarrassed. Right. So the Gemara wants to explain that. Tanu Rabbanan, says the Braita. Bat Melech sho'elet mi bat Kohen Gadol. Okay, the daughter of the princess, the daughter of the king, borrowed from the daughter of the Kohen Gadol. Bat Kohen Gadol mi bat Sgan. The daughter of the Kohen Gadol, borrowed from the assistant head Kohen Gadol. Okay, number 2 Kohen, right? Ubat Sgan mi bat Mashuach Milchama. Okay, and the daughter of the Sgan, who did she borrow from? She borrowed from the chief Kohen chaplain, okay, so to speak. All right, for the army. That was who she borrowed from. Okay. Ubat Mashuach Milchama mi bat Kohen Hedyat. Okay, and that daughter borrowed from the average Kohen. Okay, regular, rank and file Kohen. V'chol Yisrael shoalim ze mizeh kedei shelo yitbayesh et mi she'en lo. And the average Israelite girls, what did they do? They borrowed from one another so that no one would be embarrassed. Okay. Okay, because they had to get the permission perhaps from their father, right, to do this. After all, okay, we said that was Jewish Sadie Hawkins Day, Tu B'Av. Okay.
But isn't it embarrassing if there's a hierarchy of borrowing?
It's only embarrassing if you think that you are really having to go to borrow from somebody who was significantly below you. But if it was somebody, if it was somebody that was just, so to speak, like Ruvain is saying, one step, okay? Because there was a aristocracy, there was a hierarchy, okay? For example, you had a certain status, okay, and that was recognized.
But that hierarchy of borrowing defeats the purpose of the not embarrassing poor people.
Well, the poor parent borrowed from other poor people. That's okay. Okay, now you had to borrow, right? Kol hakelim tunin tefillah. Now, all of these garments that these young women borrowed, nevertheless, they needed tefillah. Okay? Because you did not know what was the tahara, the purity status of the young woman from whom you borrowed. Okay? So that brought a little bit more equal status. Okay? No matter whether she was the daughter of the Kohen Gadol or the daughter of an average Israelite. So the Gemara then tells us, Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Elazar, I'm saying, Afilu mikupalin umunachim bekufsa. Even if the garment was folded and it was there resting in a box. In other words, it hadn't been used for a while, or if it was brand new, okay? Nevertheless, it still needed tefillah. Okay, a little bit further. Benot Yisrael yotzot v'cholot b'kramim. The young women would go out and they would dance in the vineyards. Tana, we learn as follows. Mi she'en lo isha nifneh l'sham. And one who did not have a wife, okay, and that could apply to somebody who was not married before, or theoretically somebody who had been married but had no longer had a wife. Okay? So now, the implication is as follows. Miyuchasot shebahen hayu omrot bachur v'chulei. Those young women who were of a particular family status, let's use that, they would tell the young man the following, right? Right? Tanu Rabbanan, it says, brighter. Yefefi ot shebahen. The beautiful women among them, Mahayu Omrot, what did they say? Tanu einechem liofi, she'ein ha'isha ela liofi. Give your eyes on somebody beautiful because, okay, you want the wife that's beautiful. Like some who choose a trophy wife, for example. All right? Miyuchasot, those with the family status, what would they say? Shebehen, Mahayu Omrot, what did they say? Tanu einechem lemishpacha. Pay attention to family status. Right? Lafisha ein ha'isha ela lebanim. Okay, because a wife is important for producing a family, and that had an important influence on their status, what the family status was. Right? Mechuarot, the ugly ones, Shabbat. Okay, what else do you translate it, right? Mahayum wrote, what did they say? Kechu mekchem l'shum shamayim. Okay, take your choice for the sake of heaven. Okay? All right? And I think that's a very appropriate place for us to pause. Okay, to stop there. All right?
Save the next 3 words so that.
I'm going to finish up with these last 3 words. Ubilvad sheta'atrunu bezuhu vim. And even the ugly ones could say, once you marry us, you can adorn us with jewelry, and that will make us look more beautiful. Okay? And therefore we'll be more, okay? So we'll stop there. Okay? Since we started today with Ula, we'll end there with Ula to this afternoon. Okay, that will give us a few lines to finish up and go from there. All right. Okay, so we'll stop there. Okay, Zeb, all right. Do you feel you're gonna be able to do the Hadram and the Kaddish?
If you want me to.
Sure, I'd like you
I'm
to.
gonna bring my Gemara, but
We'll provide the text for you, believe me. I'm sure we can find that. All right? Okay. All right, Yeshkoch, everybody.
You too.
All right. I'm gonna bring my phone with me this afternoon. Whether I can get on the shul or not, I don't know. Okay?
What time is it?
Yeah, we called it 3:30, 3:45. Okay,
Right, all right,
3:30 we'll do mincha, 3:45 we'll get into the restaurant and sit down. Okay? Will be right.